little bit, finding your practice. Um, you know, None of us are yogis. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be engaging with this in this kind of cyber way. We'd be sort of in a cave somewhere meditating, and it's there's a way that we can cultivate bringing these ideas and bringing these things into our lives, even though the lives that we live are quite busy. And I think that it's important for us to remember that you know, meditation doesn't just mean that I have to set aside a big period of time and I have to be sitting in a dark room on my own with some incense lit. It can mean a lot of different things. And mindful behavior is simply the act of connecting with the present moment in whatever you're doing. When we're washing the dishes, we can be washing the dishes mindfully. I don't know if anybody has any activity that they like to do mindfully or something that really helps them to be in the present moment. People can feel free to pop in the chat and say what sort of things help them to connect with the present. I know for me, being in nature is really helpful. Nature is full of novelty. There's always the changing of the seasons. There's always something new to draw you in and really, really help you to be in the present. People are mentioning biking and gardening and cooking and, these activities where, it's like, am I going for a run right now, or am I really feeling the pavement beneath my feet? Am I really, noticing the people who are passing me by? Am I noticing the nature that surrounds me? All of these things that really make a difference. How much am I truly connecting in with the present moment? So when we're finding a practice, and now let's say a practice is just slightly more intentional than our regular everyday being mindful and connecting with the present moment. This is something that we're actually setting a little bit of time aside for. It can be 3 minutes and it can be 30 minutes. There's no, too little or too much. If we set aside 3 minutes at the end of our day to sort of just connect in and center before we sort of put our work behind us and go on back to home life, that's amazing. Even 30 seconds of connecting with the present can really help us to, link in. So think about your personal needs, make it embodied and intentional, and make it enjoyable. Take time to discover what really works for you. So if anybody's done any workshops with me before, you'll know that I love this graph. Now, I guess I'm just trying to make it clear what the purpose of this is. Not only are we, one of the things that we're accessing is we're giving our nervous system a nap. We're giving it a little rest, we're giving it a break. And any amount of time that we can sort of connect with the present, it allows us to drop our worries about the past, to drop our fears about the future, and then the nervous system can go, ah. Because any type of worry that we do, it alerts the body in the same way as if we're being chased by a tiger or anything else really scary is happening. So even when we're kind of worried because we've got a webinar coming up that we have to lead, or we've got a paper that's due, the body doesn't know the difference between we're, worried that a tiger's about to crush our mud hut. So that's just really important to remember. The nervous system, once it's activated, and it doesn't really know the difference. So you can see that the opposite here of stress, action, alarm, response is the meditative, rest and digest, stop and smell the roses type of response. Now, if we get a little more specific and start talking about the actual observer type meditations. Now, in general, when we talk about mindfulness, one core process that is impacted positively is the ability to observe thoughts. And not just thoughts, but also emotions and sensations. So we're taking that even deeper by really cultivating our inner observer. We're trying to be able to see these processes taking place within ourselves rather than being completely immersed within them, rather than having to react to them. We learn to see these thoughts. We learn to see emotions and sensations as transient states. If we think back to different moments in our lives, we can recollect, like, oh, in that moment, that felt like the most important thing that ever would happen. My first breakup, something like that. But then, later on, we met someone else, life went on, we understood, we were able to look back on that relationship and appreciate it, right? So, there's this constant sort of change that happens. And through observing states, we can notice that there's a difference between the state themselves and the person. So we are not our thoughts, we are not our emotions. And this is kind of the direction that we're trying to go in here. Stepping outside of our immediate experience, to change the very nature of that experience just by gaining a different perspective on it. So with the observer meditation, the idea is that it helps us to enter the observer mode. And in the observer mode, you know, the focus is a more relaxed focus. Um, we can pay attention to different domains in our lives that we may have become over identified with, right? Like um, a role that we play, the idea that we have to be a certain way with certain people, all of these things, right? Being able to sort of gain the bigger picture, step back a little, it really allows us to kind of feel into this in a different way. Um, we might focus on the content of a particular domain. For example, we might start with like, sights and sounds, and that's going to slowly build into, deeper emotions, sensations, thoughts, and feelings. So, yeah, I guess like it says on the card, the most important aspect of this is learning to see thoughts and emotions as transient, understanding that these things come and go. The only thing that we can count on in this life is change. And then not to over identify with the ideas that we have of ourselves. I mean, um, it's amazing to feel liberated that you can really truly be who you authentically are in this moment, to feel like you're not being held back by your own or other people's ideas about who you are. And through this process of gaining this perspective and separating ourselves, understanding that who we are at the core is sort of unchangeable. And there's this the part of us that's reacting in the moment to these situations is it's not really who we are at the core. And in turn, this helps us to curb our reactivity, calm our anxiety, and hopefully sleep better and live more rich, full, and meaningful lives. Sounds good, right? Does anybody have any kind of questions about that or just anything to say about that before we actually dive into the meditation itself? All right. Cool, great. So thanks for that, Leah. I appreciate it. Just kind of letting me know that I'm on the right track and what I'm kind of putting out there is being picked up. That's great. So, when we think about meditation and we think about creating a meditative practice, number one thing is making time for yourself. We make time for other people. We make things important. We plan meetings. We put them in our diary or into our calendar in our phone. Why can't we do that for ourselves? Is it to say, okay, this 10 minutes of my day is going to be set aside for me to sit and do a meditation at my desk. This 10 minutes in the morning is going to be for me to do my practice before I leave my house. It's actually in my calendar. A little beep is going to happen on my phone to remind me that that's what's happening in half an hour. I'm choosing to make it important in the same way that I set aside time for any of the other people in my life. You're important. You deserve it. When we're engaging in meditation, now, I just don't believe it's possible for us, especially here in the middle of our workday and whatnot, to just completely have a blank mind. We have to acknowledge that there are going to be distractions. There are going to be thoughts. We are going to, have these kind of feelings coming and going. Allow those distractions to be there. As soon as we start trying to reject them or push them away, we actually give them more power. It's like we're latching onto them. So just let them be. The thoughts come and go. It's all happening, but we're just guiding the attention back into the meditation, reminding ourselves to just keep following along. All those things that I just mentioned, they just create inner turmoil. That's what we're trying to avoid. Don't fight against your thoughts. Don't fight against your distractions. Let them be. Connect with the observer you. And hopefully continuing to connect with the observer you even after the meditation is over. So let's try it out. In this moment, I would love if everyone could maybe just get embodied for a second, like have a little stretch. We've all been sitting at our desks all day. Let's twist side to side, roll the neck. Connecting with the body is to connect with the present moment. The body is always kind of existing in the present. And if it's possible, once you settle in, if you feel comfortable, just close your eyes and turn your attention to the room, but with your eyes closed. Picture the room. Picture yourself in the room, seated exactly where you are, noticing the details, kind of starting to open up your imagination, really being able to call in the imagery of yourself sitting on a chair in the room, and now just try to zoom in all the way until you get to the edge of your skin. Really imagine yourself at that point where you end and the world begins. Feel your skin, feel the parts of you that are touching the chair. Almost see if you can imagine the shape being made by the parts of you that are sitting in the chair, the indentation. Imagine the sensations of your clothing touching your skin. Any maybe cool breeze on the exposed parts of you. We're really becoming aware of the space that we take up. With each sensation, acknowledge its presence, notice it, and allow it to move on. In the same way, noticing your feelings, your emotions, during this time, just letting those things come and go at their own pace. Starting to notice your thoughts. Quietly observing your thoughts for a moment. Almost imagine like they're clouds passing by. Just taking notice, noticing the shapes, just allowing them to continue on their way. Become aware that you're noticing your thoughts. A part of you is watching yourself. A part of you is now noticing your sensations, your emotions, your thoughts. We will call that part the observer. There's a part of you in there, behind the eyes, who is aware of what I'm saying right now. Same person you've been your whole life. In a deep sense, this observer is the you which you refer to when you refer to yourself. I want you to remember something that happened to you that last summer. like 6 or 8 months ago, just like call in a memory. And when you have an image in mind, in the memory, look around. Remember all the things that were happening, the sights, the sounds, your feelings, the people who were around. And as you do that, see whether you can notice yourself noticing what you're noticing. Can you access a part of you that was there then, that's here now, that's unchanged? The part of you that's the observer, the person behind the eyes, watching, hearing, feeling. I'm not asking you to believe in a concept or trying to make like a logical point. Just asking you to notice the experience of this awareness and ask yourself whether the part of you that's there remembering from last summer is also here now. Person who is aware of what you're aware of is as present here now as they were then. There's an essential continuity of this aspect of yourself. And the part of you that was reacting in the moment comes and goes. But the part of you that's really there observing and taking down the memory will continue to be the same. So maybe we can try and go back even further. Let's imagine, something that happened when you were in your 20s or a teenager. Look around. Remember all the things that were happening then. Remember the sights, the sounds, your feelings. Take your time with it. As these sensations become clearer, I want you to, if just for a second, find the person behind the eyes who's there taking it all in. The person who was watching, hearing, and feeling. You were there then, you are here now. Remove logic from it. There's an essential continuity between the person who's aware of him or herself now and the person who was aware of yourself in your 20s as a teenager. You have been you your whole life. If we go to a different aspect, like your body is constantly changing. Sometimes your body gets sick. Sometimes your body's filled with energy and movement. Sometimes you're weak. At one point, you were a tiny baby. Your body grew, learned to stand on its own. Your body have maybe even faced challenges. I mean, you may have had some parts removed in an operation. Even now, as we're talking, some of your cells have probably died, and some of them have been with you for ages. Your cells come and go, bodily sensations come and go, even as we have spoken. Sensations and cells and thoughts have come and gone. Everything changes except the you that's there at the core. This observer you that we're trying to access here. Yes, you have a body, but this you only experiences what's happening in your body. Now notice your body again for a moment. As you do this every so often, try to observe how you're observing. Give yourself time to drop in deeper with this. Let's also look at another area, your roles. How many roles do you play? How many roles have you played in the past? Sometimes you play the role of a son or daughter, a wife or husband, a mother, a leader, a boss, a follower, a groupie, anything. In this world, there's always a role to be played. I mean, even if you try not to play a role, you're the person trying not to play a role. Right now, you're in the role of participant. In each role you play, there is a there's a mask that comes with that role. And it doesn't mean that it's fake. It's just the persona, like a professional persona in a job environment, a silly persona when you're playing with children, the caring persona when somebody needs your support. And I just want to acknowledge that that's a part of you, but it's not you. The observer you at the core can notice these differences, can understand how to engage with these situations in a different way. But at the core, that part of you that you call you is always watching and is always aware of everything you're aware of. This you does not change, doesn't bend to fit other roles. It's not affected by it. It stays in its form. The observer you is not a part of your body. It's not a role that you play. It simply experiences and takes note. I'm not trying to create a new belief here. I'm just asking you if you can distinguish between what you're looking at and the you that's watching and looking. As simple as that. It's a matter of experience rather than belief. You're not just a body, a role to play, emotions, or thoughts. These things create experiences in your life, but you are the context, the space in which they unfold. As you see that, notice that the things you've been struggling with and trying to change are not you, anyways. As this war continues battling on, you will be there, unchanged and watching. Can you take advantage of this connection and let go just a little bit more? Notice these domains that show up. And as you do, notice that you're still you, watching and being aware of what you're aware of. Now come back again to picture the room. Picture yourself in the room. And when you're ready, slowly descend back down behind your eyes. Landing, opening your eyes, taking everything in, but really connecting with the present, taking things in like you're here for the first time. And the concept might still feel a little abstract, but hold on to this idea of the observer and see how you can apply it in your life. And even if it's something that you already related to as a concept, this is just a reminder to cultivate that inner observer and try to notice ourselves noticing, to notice what's going on, to be aware of our reactions rather than just automatically reacting to them. So I hope that that exercise was supportive and that maybe it was great for some people. Some people may not have connected with that type of meditation, and that's the whole purpose of this series. I'm going to try something completely different next month. So it's a way to sort of go deeper and take the time to connect with different styles of meditations and figure out which one is right for you.